Willow Lake had always been my sanctuary. After years of city life, the sprawling water, bordered by towering pines and golden reeds, was my reward to myself. I had spent months restoring my cruiser, a magnificent 28-foot vessel with polished teak decking and a mahogany hull that gleamed in the morning sun. The smell of cedar and fresh varnish still clung to the cabin. It was a Friday morning when I first saw her a woman. I would soon nickname HOA Karen. She strutted along the dock in designer sunglasses and perfectly pressed white slacks, her coral blouse clinging to her with the precision of someone who controlled everything in her life, or at least tried to. She held a clipboard and a look that screamed, "I am authority incarnate." "Good morning," she said, her voice syrupy, but with a hard edge underneath. "We need to discuss your boat. It exceeds the maximum length allowed under HOA regulations." I leaned against my boat's railing, black coffee in hand. "Karen," I said, letting her name linger, "my boat is registered legally." "It's 28 feet. What regulation are you referring to?" She tapped the clipboard, opening it with flourish. "Clause 17B, boats over 25 feet require approval by the HOA board. Your boat," she gestured dramatically, "is beyond that." I let the silence stretch. Problematic for whom? Certainly not for the lake. Her smile was brittle. "Neighbors have expressed concerns." "Neighbors?" I asked, incredulous. "Or just you?" Her brief hesitation told me everything. Karen didn't have complaints. She had obsession and an insatiable need to enforce rules that didn't apply, to control lives that weren't hers. "And if I don't comply?" I asked. She straightened. "We'll have it towed. The HOA has authority." Her words landed like a punch. Towing? That was aggressive. I rested a hand on the polished teak rail. "Karen, you might want to check your jurisdiction. I own the water rights to this stretch of Willow Lake. That includes the docks, the slips, and all mooring areas, including this boat." Her confidence faltered. "You own the lake?" "Yes," I said. "And as the owner, I set the rules, including who may dock and when." Karen's jaw tightened. She was a storm, and I realized that this confrontation would be drawn out. But I also understood that storms could be tamed or at least redirected. By midweek, the letters began. Passive-aggressive notes threatening fines, emails filled with legal jargon, and voicemails dripping with indignation. Then came the tow trucks, scheduled to arrive at dawn. I greeted them with a thick manila envelope, a cease and desist order, property deeds, and legal confirmation that they were trespassing if they touched my boat. The drivers read the papers in silence, eyes wide, before pulling away. Karen fumed at the dock, helpless, while her boating club members muttered and looked away. That evening, I drafted a formal ban. Karen and her entire club would not set foot on my lake again. The battle lines were drawn. Willow Lake wasn't just my property, it was my sanctuary, and I would protect it. Karen didn't accept defeat quietly. Her obsession escalated in predictable, yet increasingly ridiculous ways. She called the press, posted on community boards, and even staged a protest at the end of my dock, all to no effect. The lake had become her obsession, and she was desperate to control it. I, meanwhile, had a plan. Willow Lake would not be a battleground, it would be a haven. I began hosting community events, inviting responsible boat owners, families, and fishermen. I framed the events as celebrations of the lake's beauty, subtly highlighting what respectful lake use looked like. Word spread. Willow Lake had become a sanctuary of fun, calm, and order. Karen arrived at one of these events, expecting confrontation. I greeted her casually. "Good morning, Karen. I see you brought the club again. I hope you're ready to enjoy the lake responsibly." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I am not leaving until—" "You are trespassing," I interrupted, gesturing to the signs I had installed. "Cameras recorded your last attempt. Any further access will be reported to authorities immediately." Her face paled. The community was watching. Phones were subtly recording her actions, whispers spread, and I could see doubt creeping into her club members' expressions. For the first time, Karen realized her threats had become a spectacle rather than leverage. That night, I reviewed the footage. Every move, every word, every attempt at docking had been captured. I sent copies to the county authorities, along with documentation of the property deeds and my legal rights. Karen had no foothold left. Within days, the HOA board realized her obsession had put them in a precarious position. Board members who had once supported her quietly withdrew. Karen's power, always fragile, began to crumble. But I didn't stop. I made the ban permanent, sending official notice to Karen and her club. Access to Willow Lake was forbidden unless individually invited and approved by me. Any violation would be met with immediate legal action. The lake returned to calm. Boats glided through the water, families laughed, and my cruiser rested in its slip like a silent sentinel. Karen, humiliated, legally reprimanded, and unable to influence anyone, had retreated. Her club was gone, and the county had confirmed fines for trespassing and harassment. I spent the mornings on the dock, sipping coffee, letting the sun warm my face, and listening to the gentle slap of water against the hull. Victory had been achieved not through anger or confrontation, but through strategy, planning, and patience. Karen's obsession had been her own undoing. The real triumph was deeper than property or boats. I had set boundaries, earned respect, and reclaimed peace. Willow Lake was now more than a body of water. It was a sanctuary where responsibility and respect prevailed. And Karen had learned, too late, that some waters are simply too big to control. Neighbors celebrated quietly, grateful for the safe haven, while I watched the golden sun reflect on the rippling lake. The lesson was clear. Persistence is powerful, but strategy, calm resolve, and legal certainty win in the end. Willow Lake was mine. My boat was safe. And HOA Karen was finally powerless.